We're going to start the other. Dorothy, you got it first. Do you think the current government structure is working, or do we need to reform within all levels of government? Challenging question.
There's always room for improvement. I understand that it takes 12 years for a good idea to be implemented in the provincial government. I'm sure it's longer than that sometimes in the federal government. Municipally, I found that when I came in as mayor, I had some really important ideals that I wanted to bring forward. It took me 6 years to do it. So, yes, every level of government could stand some improvement. And certainly, as times change, we need to adjust and improve.
Well, I'm well prepared for this one because, again, back to groundworks. Canada has said to be governed. Oh, and this is in my little flyer. Come and see me. It's on the back page. Canada is said to be governed since 1867 by democratic traditions within a constitutional monarchy. That's the definition of our reality in Canada that we're told. Government, law, everything. Military works on that basis. Democratic traditions within a constitutional monarchy. What the heck does that even mean? It's ambiguous. The system that runs like this, Crown, Parliament, it's guided. We're supposed to elect these people, but everything's guided for our good by some elite people who know, because we apparently don't. They protect us from ourselves. And it's beginning to unravel. And we really have to get to the foundations of how we do government.
You like talking like I do, so that's okay, that's good. I personally, when it comes to improvement in government, I would say yes, huge improvement in government. One of the reasons we have all the rules, regulations, and all the bureaucracy that we have is our own fault, because we did not step up to the plate years and years ago and make sure that we kept control of this. We let people do it, hum-num, whatever, and we weren't interested in doing went on with our lives as they were, and everything was good. Now we're finding out that maybe we should have taken control of some of those things. I think bureaucracy runs the show way too much. I think that those that are elected need to take back a lot of control so that they actually make decisions for you and not the bureaucracy. Thank you.
So with regards to federal and provincial levels of government, there's really not a lot to discuss about that because we're here for municipal, okay? The first thing we can do to fix government, or our municipal government, is get rid of the ones that are there. Keep the wheat, get rid of the chaff. Now, I'm not going to go into who's who. Go through the minutes of the meetings. You'll find out who I'm talking about. Right now, the town's being run by a mafia, and good ideas are stifled because personalities get in the way. I think from all the people you see here, you could pick a fine council. They all seem to be like-minded. Everyone seems to want to work together. That's what we need. We need a unified council that just puts their personal agendas aside and works for the betterment of the community. Thank you.
You know, bureaucrats are, if any one of you was to run for office, whether municipal or whatever, you don't know anything. I don't know anything. So what do? I go to the head bureaucrat, and he's the one that's running the show. Not me. I'm taking his word as gospel, hoping that he's telling me the right thing so that I can relate it to, if the occasion arises, to the constituents who, once I'm elected, you never talk to anyway, because what do they know? That's kind of how it works. So the idea is for me, is to work from the bottom up. You know, the bureaucratic group are the ones that need attention, as well as the elected officials. You have to vet everybody you want to work on your behalf to make your life better. Thank you.
Well, I think I agree with a lot of the candidates up here. At the end of the day, we're all very like-minded, like David said, and I agree with a lot what Arrowhead had to say. I feel like bureaucracy at the end of the day has more control of what is actually being done than town council or any level of government. I think we should be taking a look at the bureaucracy. We'll find ways that we can make it more efficient, because it's town council that should be making the decisions on behalf of the town, because at the end of the day, you're the employers, we are the employee of the town.
All right, what was the question, just for clarity again?
So the question is, do you think the current government structure is working, or do we need to reform within all levels of government?
There are a lot of great ideas floating around out there about how governments could and should and maybe would, ideally be formed. We don't have a lot of authority or time or power to change those things, especially on the municipal level. But what we can do is we can advocate for more of our authority back. As Erhard alluded to in the past, we weren't as involved as we ought to have been. There's a lot of business people here, and one of the reasons we're at where we're at is because as business people and as just people wanting to live our everyday lives, we didn't run. We let other people do the work, and things got mucky, and the provincial governments had to come in and rescue us, and now we don't have a lot of authority. And I think if we can demonstrate that we're competent and that we actually do want to take responsibility for our town again, we can legitimately advocate and say, look, we need more room. We need more wiggle room to be able to do creative things for our community that will actually make it better.
I'll be spoken to by my wife after all this is done. But I have to say this. There's something about being in politics or running for politics and being a grandfather's got something in common. Your grandkids tend to think you know something. Chances are you know very little. So you go to somebody that you, as a newcomer to council, you go somebody who you trust. Often it's one of our civil servants. I understand they may not be on our side. Just keep that in mind. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm going to tell you two stories here before we move on to the questions and answer period. So I ran this election on smaller government. Maxime wanted smaller government. A lot of you probably aren't aware that the AHS president makes about, with benefits, roughly about $1.2 to $1.5 million a year. Do you know what the Premier of Alberta makes? A little over $200,000. You can't tell me that it's harder to run AHS than it is to run a province. So that's one of the challenges that you face. Maxime told me a story once that he was, I believe he was Foreign Affairs Minister, and he was trying to change something, and he got the final draft. Max asked for the first draft. He wanted to talk to the very first person that drafted this change that he was looking for, because he wanted to see how drastically changed the document was, and he was blown away. He couldn't believe that the document had gone from a 6-page document to a 500-page document, and that's all the bureaucratic involvement in that. So we believe in smaller government, both federally and provincially, and that's what we're trying to work towards. All of these candidates have obviously answered very, very well. And now we're going to start into the question and answer period. So if somebody's got a question, please raise your hand. We'll bring the mic out to you, and then we'll have the candidates answer your question, unless you want to direct it at a specific candidate.